Honorable Nandi-Ndaitwah, thank you for speaking with the villager. Did you expect your name to appear amongst those of the president's choice for the top 4 positions within SWAPO? Or did it come to you as a surprise?
You know, as a background, you might recall that as far as last year, there has been questions which were coming to me through the media that do I have an interest in the position of the Vice President of SWAPO Party. My response has been always that those are the issues I discuss in the party structures. And people have also to know that in the party you have to be nominated. And if I'll be nominated, I will not reject the nomination from where it will come, as long as it's within the party structure. So now the president has made a nomination, which I have accepted. And I must say, I didn't know to which direction the nomination could have come. But in this case, it came from the president, which, because whoever was going to nominate me, because there are so many party members, and I couldn't really figure who is going to nominate me. But to my welcome surprise, my nomination came from the president.
And the people want to understand, what exactly is it that sets you apart from your other contestants that are vying for this position?
You know, first of all, and I have mentioned it in other fora, I might also have mentioned it through the media, that SWAPO has so many competent cadres who can be entrusted with different responsibilities, including the responsibility of being a vice president. And as a party member, I strongly believe that it was not easy for the president to identify the competent comrades that he has put in his list, because he was choosing from a pool, and I became one of them. Of course, I'm in a Tumbo, Nandi-Ndaitwah, no other one. I have, as all of us, have a different exposure at different times in our lives. At the end of the day, if analyzed, they might be the same, but I will just maybe share some of my exposures focusing on the political agenda, and they might be the same with others, but I think this is how also SWAPO members, including the president, looks at it. I have joined SWAPO at a very young age, and my environment, and I can say that the motivation that has been coming to me through the comrades around me has shaped me a lot. And to the extent that in most cases, they picked me up and give me responsibilities, which I call is an investment that they were investing in me. And that is why at that early age, when I was a member of the SWAPO Youth League in the 70s, they have given me a responsibility to be the chairperson of the SWAPO Youth League in Ovamboland, the position that I held until I went into exile in 1974. And it's very interesting, it's something that people are reminding me now, that when I left, I was in a group of 5, and then we became 7, and I was the group leader. So I think the people around me, they are always giving me such responsibilities. And these responsibilities, I want to believe that I do carry them efficiently and effectively, and they continue to entrust me with those responsibilities. So that's why even when I went in exile, I was immediately made to serve as an administrator in the Office of the Secretary for Administration. My direct supervisor was Comrade Moses Garweb. And immediately after that, I became a Deputy Chief Representative and then later Chief Representative. And as a Chief Representative in Lusaka, I then start processing all the Namibians who were coming. And when the Institute for Namibia was established, which our current president was given a responsibility to be the director, I was then a SWAP Chief Representative there. And I can comfortably say, as part of the administration machinery, I was the head of the SWAP administration. And even the director, we were working together. I recall when our offices were bombed by the South African administration, I had to relocate and was given a room in the institute. So providing leadership, processing or working with other departments of sending Namibian to schools, and even the students who were at the Institute for Namibia, they were basically under my care as the chief representative. So, and finally, when I became a member of the Central Committee at the Second Congress, which was at Nampundwe, then Extraordinary Congress, again is another responsibility. Then given another responsibility as a chief representative in East Africa and covering the AU Liberation Committee. There it was even more because the AU Liberation Committee's main task was to mobilize military hardware for the liberation movements. And I was in charge of making sure that the SWAPO hardwares are received and even at times accompany them to Angola, where they have to be dispatched in the front. So I think then coming back home, the responsibilities continues. And as I say, I don't see myself in all sincerity as to what I'm doing. What I do, I'm hearing it from people. I'm hearing it from people because when I sit on the job, I'm just there moving. But now people are telling me that, for example, when Namibia got independence, I was a deputy minister of foreign affairs. Of course, when you are a deputy, you are assisting the minister. And the staff in this ministry at that time, they felt that they could really relate well to both the minister and the deputy minister.
And definitely you are telling us the positions that you have held, various portfolios, but maybe the men on the street would really want to know what exactly is it, or in terms of change that you have brought in these various portfolios that affects directly the lives of individual Namibians on the street.
Yes, and that's where I was heading to. For example, when I became a Minister of Women Affairs and Child Welfare, so I had a focus on sensitizing the Namibian community to understand the importance of gender mainstreaming, to understand the important role both men and women can play in our socio-economic development. And people are saying that has really raised the consciousness of the Namibian people. And today we are seeing, both in the public and the private sector, mainstreaming gender has become part and parcel of the daily process. So even that led to the amendments of the SWAPO constitution to have the zebra list. Then comes to the children. That was the time when we had so many orphans. I took a crew of television and went to all regions of Namibia, just visiting child household families. And that brought a lot of information. When I shared that video with the cabinet, that is where a decision was taken to have this special program just for the children. And that's how we even start expanding the children grants for the orphans and vulnerable children. So these are the things people are saying had an impact. And then I was then a Minister of Information and Communication. Apparently, at that, before I went there, the whole issue of ICT was not really known, its importance. And during that time, the ministry highlighted on it. And the whole issue of communicating government policies, that's where we even introduced the government bulletin, which I think up to now is running. So now everybody is talking about ICT. That was even the time when the information sector had a nickname to say it's the fourth arm of the state. And I've been always emphasizing that information is power. And it was almost coming a password in Namibia. Information is power. Information is power. So this is what people are saying. Then come to environment. So people thought, let her go. She will be looking after the elephants. But then environment becomes so an important ministry, which is true. It's an important ministry because it's based on the constitution. Maybe I'm always lucky to have a good staff, I must say. And together we highlighted that. And it is environment. And up to now, I think the issue of conservancies, how people find the interest on it. So people are telling me that there is always that mark. They are seeing it. It's not me. As I say, me, when I'm moving forward. And I'm telling you what people are saying. And I think it's true because things are there. And they happen at that time. So now we are here, the Ministry of International Relations. It is the whole thing of trying to make Namibians know that they are all participants in the Namibians' foreign policy. And it was highly highlighted during the foreign policy review last year. And I'm telling you, I was so happy when there was a lot of dog crash at that conference. The participation really was above our expectation. But I told our staff we should not send away anybody because people are seeing interest in our foreign policy. Now we will see, like on the 14th of this month, of November, we are going to have our first lecture series. And because it was now launched by our president, and already the interest is coming for our people to understand our foreign policy. So these are the marks. And as I say, I'm not the one mentioning them. I'm repeating them because people are mentioning them and they are there to be seen. So just to say.
So what's your take on sentiment that your nomination is part of the grooming process of a potential president for Namibia at one point? We're talking about gender mainstreaming as an achievement that has been reached by Namibia. Do you see this nomination probably giving us the possibility of a future female president for the first time in Namibia?
You see, as I'm telling you that whenever I'm given responsibilities, I take them as they are. People can see what is on the side, they can make their assessment. If the Namibian people have a plan, that one day we will make Netumbo the president of the country, let their plan be fulfilled. But now, given this opportunity, I'll focus on my work as the vice president of SWAPO Party.
And what's your take on sentiment that your nomination and the nomination that has been put forward by the president is a disrespect of the principle of seniority within SWAPO? How do you respond to that?
I don't know how people are defining seniority in this context. Of all the people that have nominated by the president, they have all served the president at different levels. And they have all, they did not join the SWAPO party in 1990. They have joined the SWAPO party long time. And if I have to look at the team, it's a team which has been there longer. I don't know if when you have joined SWAPO party in 1966, and then as a youth, immediately the SWAPO Youth League was established at the Tanga Consultative Congress, then you are elected as a leader of the youth. Then you are called to be not a senior. I mean, all these people in the president list are not the 1990. So it's, I think there's some misleading information being fed into the people. And it will be very important for people to make their own research. So these are tested cadres of the party, and they have joined the party long time, and they have served in different capacities.
And there are critics that are saying that come the Congress, the decisions that are going to be taken are not likely going to come out of the conscience of the delegates, that they're likely going to be remote controlled. What's your response to that?
That is, in fact, if there's anyone, because you are saying it's said, I don't know whether it's said, you are trying to provoke the person you are interviewing. In fact, if there's anyone who is saying that, that person want to insult the intelligence of the delegates. People knows what they want for this country, and when they are voting, and when they are being prepared from their regions, and when they are going to be in the Congress, they are doing so not on their own interests, not on the interest of individual, but on the interest of this country. You can say individual because we are individuals and then together make up a nation. And our people should not allow anybody to try to confuse them by using words which are maybe to make them to change the way they want to see their country. They should go there and they vote for their country. And the SWAPO has set the standards already as to how we are guiding ourselves, how we are guiding our democracy. As a student of international politics, as a person who has also studied in the socialist countries, and both also in the capitalist countries. In all systems, you have what is called guided democracy, But what is important is to make your people to know what is on the ground, what should be done, and when they go there, they vote with their conscience. And their conscience is what is good for their country and for their people. And we have been doing this all the time.
Honorable, there's also speculation that women are not united to support female candidates ahead of the Congress, as we have seen Honorable Evula Itana also racing for the same position as yours. Can you say there is disunity among female party cadres within SWAPO?
That is the attitude when it comes to women, but it's never an attitude when it comes to men. Look at the 4 positions to be contested. Position number 1 are just men. Can't we ask a question that men are disunited? Why women to be found not united? Because you have a position that is contested by 2 women. But when you have a position contested by 3 men, men are not seen disunited. That is exactly the attitude when it comes to women, different views. But when it comes to men, there are different views. We are not disunited as women. And it does not mean because of women empowerment, women should not contest. We are just contesting like all other contesting. So that thing should not come up. This is a way, the contention is not we contesting among women. We are contesting to the Congress of SWAPO, which is made up of both men and women, and they will decide whom to choose, and I am saying they choose me at that Congress. And that does not mean we are not united.
And with the immense background that you have shown us, what are your chances of winning come the Congress next month?
Oh, I will win. Do you want to say that I'm working? The president's team is working to win. The president's team is working to win. How do you go in and then you say you are going there knowing you are not going to win? We are going to win. We are working. And when we are working, we are explaining to the people, and we are not just explaining for the sake of explaining, we are telling them the reality. And the reality that we will make this country a country that everybody will be proud for. It's a party that is going to guide the developmental agenda of this country. I have already mentioned, and what I mentioned does not only apply to me. It applies to the whole list. Talk about the president himself. When he was made a representative, just coming from that colonized Namibia, put in America there, and how much work he has done. Come to the Institute for Namibia, how many people now in senior position in this government that have gone through his administration at the Institute. Being a director of elections, in such a situation where we were even talking about the slush fund by the DTA, but he made the SWAPO to win. As a prime minister, turning this public service. Now, with a president coming at a time when the world economic recession is down, but we are already seeing that as the commodity prices are recovering, even our own economy is recovering. And then what is happening when one was a governor in commerce, in Omsati minister, and when one minister of works and transport, foreign minister, even before independence, how much work has been done by the comrades who were here, including Comrade Marco, in order to mobilize the Namibians to support SWAPO.
But what will be your strategy of unity as a vice president of the party once you get elected?
First, you have to understand the SWAPO constitution, because the SWAPO constitution is the base of all our activities. And it's very clear saying that the vice president of SWAPO party is the principal assistant to the president in executing his or her duties. Now, in this case, the president is guided by different SWAPO programs. And unity is one which is emphasized even in the SWAPO party constitution. And President Hage Geingob has been a champion of unity. And he has not only talked about it, but he has done concrete things that is telling you that is a person of unity. Now, my strategy is to get into the president's strategy and assist the president in that. And also, as the president always says, people do not eat democracy. As a united party, we have to be focused on the real issues that will bring bread on our table. And Namibia, we are not an island. We are part of the international economic and political system. And to consolidate our unity, first of all, we have to make sure that anything we do, we go by our instruments, our guiding instruments, the Constitution, the political programs. And then when it comes to the developmental issues, to develop policies that will be taken to the government for implementation will be guided by the SWAPO election manifesto. Now, how did now the issue of Namibia not being in isolation come in? We are members of the UN, we are members of the AU, and currently, especially in this time in history, these two UN international bodies have all set up a developmental agenda. In terms of the AU, we have Agenda 2063, and in terms of the UN, we have Agenda 2030. Now, we, of course, like Agenda 2063, it has identified 13 flagship projects to be implemented in the course of 10 years from last year. Of course, you cannot do everything at a time. Some things they all apply to the same continent, but you have to look into your own strategies and see what you can do during that period. Now, looking at it, there are three main issues that are common in these documents. One is poverty eradication. That can be done. In fact, that is the sender. But to address this, there are three pillars that are discovered to be important. One is women empowerment. Second is youth empowerment. And the third is the private sector. Now, you cannot unite people if they are not hungry. So we have to, the president has already under the Harambe as a program, which is targeted to the poverty eradication. Now, I will assist him also using the experience I have gained in this international community. How do we bring in these three pillars, that is the youth, the women, and the private sector? The private sector is very, very important in the economic development of any country. The youth are very, very important, and that's why even the African Union has declared the decade for the youth from 2018 to 2028 with focus on education, training, skill development, and entrepreneurship. So, and then women, economic and political empowerment. And in this all three category, the issue of small and medium enterprise comes in because they are very critical. And we are saying that our business people, we know that they have always strategies, but we say there should be a healthy competition in our business people, both big, both medium, and both small, because our target is one, is poverty eradication. And with this experience, I'll be able to assist the president. The good thing is that our president is already engaged in these activities. So that is now my strategy, is to continuously look into this matter and see how these three pillars, which are very critical for poverty eradication, can be strengthened.
Okay, and although there's been some semblance of growth within the economies of Southern Africa as compared to last year, we understand that a lot of countries within Southern Africa are actually being faced with quite a number of economic challenges as far as growth is concerned. And coming back to the funding of these projects, these 13 flagship projects, do you think we are in a position to be putting money in these, even if we are working with the private sector in these economic tough times?
You mean as an African continent?
As an African continent, yes.
Yes. One thing is true that Africa, as part of the global economy, has also suffered from the current economic recession. And how it has even affected us more is because our continent is resource-based. Many of our countries, Namibia included. And when the commodity prices went down, that had impact heavily, negatively on us. Now that the recovery is coming, and we will make use of these resources. Let me inform you, Africa has also taken a decision that at least 25% of African resources should not leave the continent unprocessed. So whoever want access to our resources, they should come, but they should not come and take and go, but they should come and stay with us and process so that we'll be able to create the necessary jobs required for our citizens and also get necessary resources, particularly money, in order to invest in other sectors of the economy. You know, for too long, Africa has been, I call it, a net exporter of labor. Why? When you are sending your commodity unprocessed, by implication, you are taking labor to those countries where your commodities are going to be processed. What is the result? We are seeing young people from Africa even rescuing their lives to cross high seas. Most of them, they die there. We see them. And we say that should come to an end. And Namibia will do the same to say we should add value to our product. They should not all leave the continent unprocessed. We have also to be very strategic and see where our strengths are. And that's why we are saying we are making ourselves a hub. We can be a service hub, and the strategies are there, and we are starting to work on them. When you see our president engaging the private sector, both home and abroad, these are things that are building up, and they are really taking shape, being helped now with the recovery of the world economy. And these are the things that we have to put into effect as we've already started them.
And last week you hosted the African Union Ministerial Follow-up Committee on Agenda 2063. And within the context of the ambitions of Agenda 2063, what can you say are some of the progresses that we have made towards 2063 so far?
Yes, the agenda is true. Namibia, represented by myself, currently is the chair of the Ministerial Committee on the follow-up for the implementation of Agenda 2063, a responsibility I had for the past 2 years. The first action on the implementation of Agenda 2063 was to identify areas of concentration during the first 10 years. Subsequently, 13 projects were identified. Among them is a project on silencing the gun, which means to focus on peace. Project on the establishment of the private sector forum, a project on Africa free trade area, a project on energy, and many others. Then another area was now to domesticate the Agenda 2063, which means member states to incorporate the elements of Agenda 2063 into their national development plan. As of to Friday, when we were meeting to review, 35 member states have domesticated Agenda 2063, and the committee, assisted by the technical team of the Commission, visited those countries and assessed to confirm that yes, they have domesticated. That is a progress in itself, and we have still to go to the remaining countries to see how they are domesticating. One important element also is the resource mobilization for the implementation of the project. So there is a committee at the level of the head of states, which is looking at the reforming the operations of the AU for resource mobilization, which is headed by President Kagame of Rwanda. And then there's also good progress on the establishment of the free trade area in the continent. So we had received the progress last week, and they are saying that they are really determined, the technical people who are given a task, to complete the process by December, so that come January summit, they will report completing the work. Now, once that has been agreed and implemented, it will really go a long way in enabling Africa to trade among herself. And in that way, we'll have the capacity to implement our projects. For example, when we go to the issue of value addition, the idea is to have a value chain, which simply means you have where the resource is produced. There should be a sender where it can be processed up to this level, another sender to this level until it's completed. Just like the European now, when they are building their jets, their plane jets, they are no longer, you see the engine, one part is made in this country, one part is made in this country, and that's how they are distributing job among themselves. And that is the strategy for Africa. And I'm telling you, looking at what I'm seeing and having been engaged, all what we are saying are possible, both at the country level as well as the continental level. What is needed is a focus, transparency, honesty, and commitment, and not to be moving from one direction to other. But once you decide this is what you want to do, it's right for your people. There might be people in the sides who are doing this and this. As long as you are focused, you disappoint them. And that's how we have to work.
And
focus, transparency, and honesty.
And what progress can you say we have made as far as the electronic passport is concerned? It was given to senior high-ranking officials, but we haven't seen it yet being given to people.
Oh, you mean the African passport?
Exactly.
Oh, yes. It's not really electronic passport. We call them the African passport. It was launched in Kigali last year. And what is happening now, and we also got that report, the issue of the free movement of people is another one, where that one really, it's member states have just to ensure that they allow Africans to move freely. But with the African passport, now the Commission's legal department, they are working into the modalities as to how that can be really fully operationalized. A passport is a passport, and it cannot just come without clear guiding principles. And that is what now the legal department is working on. So I want to believe that their proposals are going to be presented at the summit in January, and if agreed, then we will see how we can operationalize it.
Honorable.
But even besides the African passport, we have our own national passports, and we have just to make use of them and make it easy for Africans to move freely. And this is why after the summit in Kigali, here the president came, gave the report because he had our delegation, and then the cabinet decided that we should give visa exemption to all African diplomatic and official passport holders. Meanwhile, we are in the process now to see how we can eliminate everything. We have the experience. Comrade Marco, who has been working as minister at Works, at Foreign Affairs, Deputy Prime Minister, that's all the experience one has gained. And then even before Namibia's independence, have been active here. Comrade Shaningwa has been in the party long before independence, and coming back served as the councillor here in Windhoek, governor in Commerce region, governor in Umsati region, and now minister of regional local government. So what experience, I mean, what seniority people are talking about. All of us have joined this party, not in 1990s, but far back. So that is, I think, just people talking as part of the election campaign.
And what you have to say for the delegates?
No, the delegates and those who are sending them, I'm really saying that because when you are a delegate, you are delegated, and you are delegated to perform a task. So you delegate your delegate to come and vote for the team that is going to build and on what we have been doing over the years, and to get us through the current economic recession, as we could see that things are starting to improve. And that is what you need to do. So you vote for that to be realized and not to allow it to be cut in between when things are starting to come flourish, since the whole world economic recovery is taking shape.
On that note, Honorable, thank you so much for speaking with the village today.
Thank you very much for visiting village.